You're Paul. I'm the new Sprintern.
Sprint Plus.
Intern. Yeah, clever, right? Looking at getting an amazing iPhone 8?
Yeah, because...
Now you can lease one iPhone 8, get the other one on Sprint to give your second phone to your new friend.
And you get the best price for unlimited.
And now lease one iPhone 8 and get a second one on us. Visit your local Sprint store, sprint.com/iPhone, or call 1-800-SPRINT1 today.
iPhone 8 64 gigabyte $29.17 a month. Second iPhone 8 after $29.17 a month. Credit applied within 2 bills. Requires 2 new lines or 1 new and 1 upgrade with 18-month leases. Early termination results in full balance due. Excludes tax subject to credit and third activation restrictions apply.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot. Oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to a very special episode of Supernatural Girls Radio. As you know, this is where paranormal is normal, but tonight we are taking a bit of a break from that because we have a very important guest that we're bringing on, Robert Abatiello, and he is an expert in Lyme disease and autoimmune disease. And he is one of my personal favorite people in the world. He's very devoted to his practice, to his patients, and he has a lot to let us know about Lyme disease and autoimmune. So in a few minutes, we are going to bring him on the show and get ready to learn a lot and hopefully increase the power of your own health and be self-empowered with your own health. So that's what this is all about tonight. And before we introduce him, though, of course, PK, we've got to talk to you. So what's going on with the numbers? What's happening?
Well, we have to take a look at November 22nd is a 7 universal day. This is a very telling date because 7 makes most of us overly tired and suspicious and all that good stuff. But you're going to find that most of us did not sleep well last night, that there's going to be a lot of tossing and turning that had gone on, a lot of dreaming that's going to have taken place. And it's going to put things somewhat to the negative side and create some fears and fantasies because that's what happens when we dream and it's that heavy. But it's going to kind of give us a push. The holiday's coming, so to assist the holiday and not be so exhausted, take fantasies and visions and put them together by assisting yourself, doing some things ahead of time, make your plans for your Thanksgiving gathering, do some of the things you can do ahead. Bake, etc. Get these things out of the way. But doing what you can in advance will allow you and your family to certainly enjoy the day with less stress.
That sounds like a plan because it's always stressful.
Oh, gosh,
you got to make Thanksgiving such a complicated meal. You've got to make all these things. You don't have to, but it's more fun if you do.
I know it. It's
and then
better when you eat
sits
out.
Down. Yeah, I know, because then after all that work, it takes hours and days, and then everybody's done in like 10 minutes,
Isn't that, it takes you 2 days to prepare it and 15 minutes to eat it. But I was going to also add, looking forward to the holidays, let's make some plans to offer a special reading or sessions to either of your friends or family with Patricia or myself. Additional opportunities to relieve stress is having a phone reading with either of us. Supernatural Girls are involved to help you as well. So let's see what we can do. And you don't have to wrap it, mail it. You can just call them.
How easy is that?
Tell them to call us. Yes.
That's right. We are on supernaturalgirls.com website. You can find us there. And also be sure to go to our Facebook page. Now, we have 2 of them we want to talk about tonight. One is our usual, Supernatural Girls on Facebook. We've got great stories. We always put them up every day. And we've got some terrific ones. So go there to check it out. Give us a like and a follow. And then we also have on the health side, the Real Zombie Plague on Facebook. Be sure to go there. We've got a tremendous amount of information. You can make comments. You can talk with other people who may be sharing some of the same struggles that you're having with your health. But lots of good information. Again, that's the Real Zombie Plague. Now, this is a pre-recorded show. So unfortunately, we won't be able to take your questions live. However, in case you missed this show and you want to pass it on to a friend or you want to hear it yourself again, you can get it from our archives. I will be putting it on both Facebook pages, and it'll also be on our website. So this is a very special show. Again, we're doing this as a kind of a lead into the holidays to help everybody enjoy them, help everybody with their health as much as we possibly can. And of course, we always recommend you check with your own doctor, your own practitioner. The information that we're giving today is just that information. We are not diagnosing anything or prescribing anything, but we're having a very interesting discussion in a couple minutes with Robert Abatiello, and he is going to share some very interesting facts with us. These are things we really need to know because autoimmune disease in this country alone, I was reading, there's 50 million people that they're estimating that right now are suffering from autoimmune. Now with Lyme, I'm hoping Robert has more current statistics than me because the CDC is downplaying it tremendously and saying there's only about, 300,000 cases or something crazy like that, which I know is wrong. That number is way too low, and I can tell you it's way too low. There's something wrong with the way they're gathering their statistics, the way they're doing their tests. We're going to hear all about that from Robert in a minute. But these are critical issues. Lyme disease doesn't just make your life miserable anymore, it can kill you. And certainly that's true with autoimmune diseases as well. So we need all the information we can get so we can make the best healthcare decisions for ourselves. And if you have one of these horrible diseases, hopefully this show is going to be a breakthrough for you. So let me introduce our guest. I've got a wonderful little bio here that I want to read to you because Robert, again, is a real stellar person in this field, and I'm so happy to have him on the show. He's a licensed acupuncturist and herbalist. He has training in naturopathy, homeopathy, and nutrition, and he brings a wealth of knowledge, experience, and training to the natural healing arts of acupuncture, naturopathy, homeopathy, herbology, and the teaching of yoga and meditation. He began his healing arts training in 1973 with the study of meditation, and he also learned the power of this ancient healing art when he had his own powerful transformational healing experience. After that, he began a decade of extensive travel and studies with numerous spiritual teachers and healers from around the world. Now, also, this is incredible stuff. He's developed his own system of healing, including clear point acupuncture, NeuroClear, and Pulse Clear. These are all leading edge systems that he has devised himself. They're tremendously effective. Robert, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Pleasure to have you. Pleasure to have you here. We have so much to talk about.
Oh,
but first,
yes.
how did you get into this? How did you make this turn into the healing arts?
Yeah, I wanted to save this story for you. You asked me before.
Yes.
Well, I originally, when I was in college, I was going to school to become a lawyer. And about somewhere about the second year, maybe year and a half, the stress of it all, I was studying meditation and doing yoga. First ashram actually to ever open up in the United States. People don't realize about, yoga and, meditation is that just like we sent, Christian, priests and stuff to, third world countries, et cetera, to, introduce them to that religion, that's what they did. They sent people over here, and Dr. Mishra was one of the first that came to this country, opened up an ashram. And so I was studying at his ashram, and he was one of those teachers that can do Shaktipat, which means he can transfer the experience of connecting with God to you while you're in his class. And so, people who know that, you go to his class, you wait for that moment where he chooses you and pew, you get the bliss. So I was studying there. It was called the Ananda Ashram in Monroe, New York. And a doctor from California had come, and this was in 76, 77, like 1977. And so acupuncture was not something that anyone had really ever heard of. I certainly didn't hear of it. But this, guest doctor it was a beautiful fall day. the leaves coming down. We were next to the pond, and the sun was shining, it was really warm. And she put this guy down on a blanket outside and did some acupuncture. Well, now we understand acupuncture. We've had acupuncture, but we just stared at this guy for like 30 minutes, like we were watching TV. It's like,
Wow.
wow, he's got like needles in him. Like, that's, we just stared at him. It was the strangest thing. I didn't think of it, at the time. I just thought, oh my God, he's got needles stuck in him, and he's not, he's not upset. He's not crying or whatever.
Yeah, he's not flinching. Yeah.
No, and so afterwards, I'm walking next to him. We're walking down this, nice trail along the lake. I said, what was that like? He said, well, I feel calm. I feel centered. I just feel balanced and relaxed. And those words kind of poured over me like, just like ambrosia, like, really? You can have that feeling? Just by laying on the ground and have needles stuck in you? And the thing was, I never for 1 second thought I want to get acupuncture. That didn't occur to me at all. It just came over me like, that's what I want to do for people. I want to do acupuncture. So I went back, went to my, guidance counselor or whatever they're called in college. And I said, listen, I need to change my major. I want to be an acupuncturist, because she looked at me like I was a little crazy. And I said, yeah, that's what I want to do. So, of course, I spent 6 years in college and, instead of the standard 4, because I had to catch up on all the stuff that I wasn't doing. But that was the genesis. And I really didn't get acupuncture or see any acupuncture till after I'd finished college and went to Boston and, to go to school there. And even my first year of school, I don't think I had acupuncture. It was just, I wanted to do acupuncture. So that's what started the whole ball rolling.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Wow.
And that experience you're talking about, I get that bio. I remember it's from somewhere, I don't know, my website or something, but
Your website.
Yeah. So I when you were saying, oh, I had this transformative experience, well, why I get into this was really, because of that experience with seeing acupuncture. But prior to that, way back when, transcendental meditation. So this was when I was 16 years old. I had an ulcer, very stressful, family life and school life. And I was eating this is what they had, mashed potatoes and milk. And butter. That's what you got to do when you had an ulcer, which is really kind of the worst thing you could do to yourself. But that's what they recommended. It wasn't getting better. And so a friend of mine, kind of hippie kind of guy, he came up to me, he said, oh, you know what, maybe you should try meditation. So I went and to do the TM. And that's when you got a flower, a piece of fruit, a white handkerchief, and $35. Now I think it's, your left hand.
You give them the flower.
What was that?
You pay them the money. You give them the flower.
Yeah, you go there, you do this whole thing. Now it's like, I don't know, it's like thousands of dollars to learn what I learned. But here's the part where about the transformational experience is, I went to the thing. They gave you, they give you a mantra. They show you how to, use the mantra and meditate. Put me in a room, close my eyes. I start doing the mantra, and white light. Bliss.
Oh my God!
It was like holy cow! And I'm like, I was there, and I'm just like in this ecstasy experience. And this was, I went like, I'm not gonna let anybody know what my secret mantra is, even after all these years. But I'm doing my mantra.
You're not supposed to share it. Yep.
Can't share it, and then the guy comes in. I thought, wow, that was like 2 seconds. And he says, okay, well, that was your 20 minutes. How was it? And I told the guy what happened. He goes, he looks at me, he goes, oh no, you have to meditate for 20 years to have that experience. And I said, but I just had it. He goes, he just couldn't get around it. He says, I don't know what to tell you. And of course, that was a weird thing to hear, but, so that started me, and I literally, just so people want to know about just meditation, I did that meditation, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon. After 2 weeks, no ulcer, gone. Gone for good. I mean, I think I worked at a steakhouse. I used to hide, my time to do my meditation. I used to hide behind the stacks of, potatoes in the back room, and I'd be there, doing my mantra. And I just did it, And so even today, if things get a little bit, overwhelming,
Hmm.
I will go back to that. It's a great tool.
That's
So
wonderful to know
that's the
because
genesis. That's the
that's
genesis.
great. And the mind-body connection, clearly we can't ignore it, even though we do want to know from you about treatment and things that you use for these two categories of illnesses, that the mind-body connection is paramount. And we're going to get more into that too. But for now, I know you've had some good success with patients. And let's start off with Lyme, if we could, because I know you have a perspective on this. You take a look at Lyme and you take a look at the patient. What do you see? What do you see happening with Lyme? Do you see more cases of it, more severity with it? I mean, what are you seeing today?
Well, Lyme is a very old disease. They literally found Borrelia, which is the bacteria that causes Lyme disease, in the Paleolithic guy that was frozen. This was about 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, they found them. They found the Borrelia. So it's really it's an older disease, and that's an important thing to understand because, you always have mutations, and of course with antibiotics.
Yep.
Every bacteria becomes resistant, it mutates. So it has become a stronger strain, since they first started diagnosing and treating it with antibiotics. But it has been around for a long time. And just like any infectious disease, groups of people become immune to it. And then some people aren't immune to it. So there's one reason why some people they get bit, they get Borrelia, they have a fever, it feels like a cold, and then it goes away, and there's nothing really left, for them to do there. And then other people, it is, as you said, just life-threatening. And that life-threatening has to do with the person. Are they toxic? Are they exposed to a lot of chemicals? Are they, emotionally stressed? Is there a lot of, things to deal with there? Do they have other diseases that, that also strain the immune system? And all those things play into how a person responds to Lyme, to Borrelia, and all the co-infections.
Yes. Now today, it seems like the Western blot test, which is the accepted traditional test, is not all that accurate. At least that's what I'm hearing. But there are tests that are more accurate than Western blot, like iGenix has one that I hear is leading edge. What are your thoughts on the tests?
The Western blot it's very accurate. It's as accurate as a coin toss. And that's what
Great.
That's an eye opener.
And that's the truth. The CDC, I can't remember how long ago, they might have taken it down, but where they were training doctors, within a decade, I think 7, 8, 9 years ago, there was a training for doctors. I took it for how to treat Lyme disease. What are you supposed to do? And it's a very that's before even the post-sequela Lyme diagnosis that they kind of acquiesce to, so that people can get a little bit more antibiotics for more than the 3 to 4 standard weeks. But what they said in that meeting was to doctors is, do not use the test. You have too many false positives, too many false negatives, and so you're either treating someone who shouldn't be treated, or you're not treating someone who should be treated. Yeah. And so their recommendation was use the symptoms, and I think that's still, even in for people who don't do muscle testing or any other kind of, EEV testing, that's the standard, is you want to follow the symptoms.
Now,
and
what are the symptoms that you see for Lyme?
Well, the symptoms are going to be, Lyme leads to all symptoms. And that's just a fact. If someone comes in, I've had people sit there literally for an hour and a half and just go over. I have this symptom. I have crawlies under the skin. I have headaches. I have fatigue. I have joint pain. I have rashes. I have even the bullseye, which is they used to say, well, if you see a bullseye, that was in that meeting.
That's the classic one.
That's the classic. Oh, then you want to treat them right away. But the bullseye doesn't always show up. It doesn't show up. In fact, in my practice, I may see it, 1 out of, 20, 30, 40 times. You know, but I do see rashes, joint pain, fatigue, the cold that never ends, the exhaustion that never ends. Then other things start getting triggered. Anything that they had before is now worse. And I say, this is what I like to look at it, because I have suffered severely with Lyme. Out of the 25 years that I've been treating Lyme disease, I started in Nantucket, which at the time that I was there was a hotbed of Lyme disease. And I think there's a gift to it. There's a gift that it will go to every part of your body that is weakest. So whatever disease you have had, whatever your genetic disposition is to have a disease, autoimmune disorders, anything, it will go there. It will find that place. And I say it's up to us to go, all right, let me look at that. Let me take care of it. Let me fix that. If you're eating junk food, and let me tell you, that's one of the first things I tell people, sugar. Borrelia loves sugar. Your body doesn't like sugar. And it's a debilitating drug. William Duffy wrote the Sugar Blues. I mean, way back in the 70s. It might have even been copyrighted in the 60s. And he delineated long ago that sugar, which we now, cane sugar, good old-fashioned cane sugar, which now is sold in a health food store as a health food product. Because,
it's better for you, right?
Yeah,
but you're saying it's good for Borrelia, is what it's good
they
for.
love it. It's just like, cancer and Borrelia love sugar. And of course, your body becomes depleted and debilitated from sugar. And so I tell people, don't do that. That's not a good thing. And so people who are, junk food junkies, they're like, what? I can't have refined sugar. I can't have refined bread. I can't have this. I said, well, at least not until you get better. And hopefully by then, the Borrelia has taught you a lesson that these are not good for your body. Things that are not good for your body support just the destruction that Lyme will, present to you if you just let it go unchecked.
Right. So diet is very important in this. So that's one of the first things you discuss with people is if they're sugar junkies or if they're eating food that isn't really good for them. Is that like a step-by-step that you go through? Because I know we had a question from somebody. Let me grab that about this very thing. Is there an order to the way that you address getting well from Lyme disease or even autoimmune? I mean, is there something that you recommend that people do first, second, third? How do you handle that? That's a good question.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the 3 stages, I always present this. The 3 stages of treating Lyme is first stage, suppress. I use the word suppress. Think about herpes. That you never get rid of the virus, when you get stressed, when you get a cold. That's why they call them cold sores. When your immune system is down, that herpes virus will come out. But when your immune system's strong, well, you don't know you have herpes. It's not an issue. Borrelia is very similar in that it will stay in your system. It can form a cyst. It can form a biofilm. And that cyst and biofilm, the Borrelia goes into when you become strong enough, and you could dissolve those cysts and biofilms, but that's the mechanism where it hides in your body. That's another reason why using antibiotics is not a very useful thing to do, especially unless it's the first, couple of weeks. The first time you've been bit, I'll tell people, go straight to the, your doctor, get the doxy, do that. Not my favorite thing to say, but it's an effective thing.
And it's inexpensive too. Doxycycline is one of the original antibiotics. So
you're insured,
right.
Probably got a nice little copay. So I think that's a reasonable thing to do.
Yes.
But after that, now the Borrelia is deep into your system. It has the ability to hide. It kind of changes its DNA. It hides from your immune system. And so what we need to do is we need to get your immune system to see the Borrelia. The analogy I always make is your immune system is in a dark room and it has a bat and you have all your precious things in that room that you can't see, but the Borrelia has night goggles on and can see you. So you start swinging. Your immune system starts swinging. And this is the onset of of autoimmune diseases. You start swinging. So instead of actually attacking the bacteria that you're after, you're breaking your favorite china, you're destroying your liver, you're destroying your, pancreas. I went very quickly from china to internal organs, but that's
Yes.
what's happening. So
China's replaceable.
Right.
a couple organs are too, but
You don't want to have that happen.
you don't want
That's
to
for
do that.
sure.
So
Definitely.
so the first thing in stage 1 is you want to weaken the Borrelia. So by using, different products, TAO-free cat's claw, monolaurin, different antimicrobials, you can create an environment that they're not thriving in. So they're kind of weak. You got them on the ropes. But your immune system ultimately is your defender. And so what you need to do is then educate your immune system, kind of turn on the bright lights so that you can see what you're swinging at. And that is done through homeopathics, basically Borrelia nosodes, where you make a remedy out of the Borrelia. And that basically, once you, homeopathically utilize that remedy, your immune system starts to see the genetic composition of Borrelia, and it starts now be able to attack the Borrelia instead of just this wild attacking anywhere where it sees inflammation, which Borrelia causes a lot of inflammation.
Yes. Yes. Yes, because my understanding with Lyme is it can get into your brain. It can go anywhere. There's nothing to stop it. And
No,
it
it
becomes
will
it
go
can become
anywhere.
very dangerous. It
Yeah.
will. Yes.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Lyme is a horrible experience. I know I had it. The anxiety, the brain fog, the sensations that run through your body. Weird nerve sensations that get triggered. They're not even real things that are happening. It's just the nerves are kind of telling you, oh, there's something going on there, but there's nothing. You look there, there's nothing there.
There's nothing to see.
Yeah, so that's, Lyme's that. So we got phase 1, right? So we want to do that education and basically give your immune system what it needs, the support it needs to do what it does with any microbe, is basically take it out. Excuse me.
I have a question for you. I know there was a wonderful book that scared the crap out of me. I think it was called Lab 452. It was about the weaponization of ticks and how the ticks left this island outside of New York City via deer, which they never expected deer to carry these ticks off the island, and that was the beginning of the onslaught of what we're seeing today with Lyme disease. Do you think it's been weaponized? Have you seen anything that would support that theory?
Well, I've heard the theory, quite a bit. People come in, but like I said at the beginning, we have found Borrelia way back when. Can you weaponize anything? I'm sure. Why do it? I know there's a lot of theories there, but despite the theory, it ultimately doesn't matter. It's still there. We still need to treat it. So that's how I see it.
Exactly.
I'm a clinician.
Yes.
So phase 2.
Which is good that you are. Otherwise, we lose
Yes.
hope very quickly.
Right.
So,
So phase 2. So now that we've educated the immune system, now it has a shot, just like it does with every other bacteria, which Borrelia is not like every other bacteria. It's a very sneaky spirochete bacteria, type bacteria. So phase 2 is repair and restore. Now, repair and restore, the repair part is Borrelia basically leaves toxins. When it dies, it's a toxin that our body has a difficulty in getting rid of. Just like a brown recluse has venom that when you get bit, it keeps necrotizing the tissue, and it keeps growing and growing, and it could cause. Yeah, it's horrible because your body cannot neutralize that toxin. Now, fortunately, the Borrelia is not that virulent, but it is very difficult for our bodies to get rid of. So a lot of these aches and pains, this post-sequela, people say, oh, it's been a year and I still got these pains here and there, is that, and many people, just like everything, can deal with those toxins, and many people can't. So that's the spectrum of severity.
right.
And so it's very important to get rid of those toxins to assist the body into being able to neutralize those toxins so that the tissues That's repair, can start to restore themselves, which can take a long time. It's almost like microscopic scar tissue that forms around this toxin. And when that
Gosh.
toxin is in your blood, that's what they'll call a herx, or when you start killing off the Borrelia either with antibiotics or homeopathy or any other natural way as well. That herx, that detoxification, is very severe in Lyme disease.
So hang on to that thought, because we want to
Yeah.
talk more about that. And what we're going to do right now, everybody, is take a very short commercial break, and then we're going to come back and continue this conversation with our wonderful guest tonight, Robert Abatiello. You can find him at clearpointacupuncture.com. Again, that's clearpointacupuncture.com. So stay tuned, everybody. You're listening to Supernatural Girls Radio, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, Patricia Kirkman, PK, and our guest today, a very special guest. We are talking about some very serious health concerns. We know that people in our audience are facing some of these challenges, and we are thrilled to have Robert Abatiello on the air with us today. We are talking about Lyme right now and how to get rid of it. It's no easy process. So Robert, please continue. Tell us the rest of how you work with a patient and how to deal with this Borrelia that is so sneaky.
Sneaky Pete. Yeah. So, got that. So we're in phase 2. So the repair part basically involves a lot of detoxification, getting rid of those toxins out, repairing the tissue, strengthening the immune system. And, it's very much just like if someone came in and said, I have a knee problem. It's just, at that point, it's like, okay, we're going to treat your knee problem, whether it's injury from a trauma or it's injury from the Lyme. At that point, it's just inflammation, and if you don't take care of it, it's your knee, your joint's going to start disintegrating. That's arthritis. So so that's the next thing, is you're basically restoring yourself, making yourself healthy, and that's a process. If you quit somewhere along the line, a lot of people will say, you know what, I'm in pain, but I'm okay. I can go back to work. I can sleep. I sleep pretty good. And they're like, they're okay. They've kind of created a baseline where I'm functional.
Right.
Then they kind of say, well, I'm done. That you're not done. And the problem with
You're Paul. I'm the new Sprintern.
Sprint Plus.
Intern. Yeah, clever, right? Looking at getting an amazing iPhone 8?
Yeah, because...
Now you can lease one iPhone 8, get the other one on Sprint to give your second phone to your new friend.
And you get the best price for unlimited.
And now lease one iPhone 8 and get a second one on us. Visit your local Sprint store, sprint.com/iPhone, or call 1-800-SPRINT1 today.
iPhone 8 64 gigabyte $29.17 a month. Second iPhone 8 after $29.17 a month. Credit applied within 2 bills. Requires 2 new lines or 1 new and 1 upgrade with 18-month leases. Early termination results in full balance due. Excludes tax subject to credit and third activation restrictions apply.
not being done is that the third phase, which is maintenance, you're not even there yet. What do you want? You want to maintain, bare functionality. But that restoration is about making yourself healthy, exercising, doing yoga, eating well, creating good social environment, creating, good relationships. All those things really matter because they matter to your immune system. And your immune system is the front line against this disease. Your immune system is the front line against any disease.
Right.
And in an autoimmune disease, that front line has been corrupted. It's like your immune system is really a terrible person in relationship. It doesn't know what it's supposed to be doing. It's making bad choices. It's attacking your organs, your muscles. It's attacking you instead of attacking this thing that's invading you. And the confusion there. So to unconfuse that, you really need to basically give your immune system therapy.
How funny. I love that.
That's what you're doing. and so you're it's this sense with Borrelia is that the gift is it's going to tell you, like a good, I'm a guy, so I'm going to say like a good wife will tell you when when you're being a jerk. Like, listen, you're being a jerk. Don't do that. That's not
Right.
very nice. Wake up, and and you start that relationship. You start working on, being a better person. And so Borrelia is kind of asking you, be a better person, be a healthy person. And so
Right.
once you've gone through that process, then phase 3 is maintenance. You want to stay healthy.
Hmm.
And just because you get a cold doesn't mean you're going to get, Lyme disease again. Just because you gain some weight doesn't mean you're going to get Lyme again. But, there's a line there somewhere that you want to maintain of health.
Right.
So those are the 3 phases. That's the project. And within all those sections are, various things that you need to do.
Well, it's a commitment. And it's not easy, I think, for people who have Lyme when they feel so terrible. I mean, it's like when you're at your worst, you're expected to be your best, is how I look at it. You're really asking a lot of these people taking all these supplements, changing their diet, getting, the proper rest, but there's no other alternative. If they want to get well, it's a comprehensive system that has to be in place, right?
Yeah, it is. And a lot of people have been, let's say, duped. I wanted to use that word. I was trying not to use. They've been duped into believing that by taking antibiotics, having a pick in your arm for months and months, and then years and years, that they're getting better, but they're not getting better. I remember
Right.
walking into the bank when I was really sick. I'm like, wobbling because my knees wouldn't bend, and I walk up to the cashier, and she's, "Oh, what's the matter?" And I said, "Oh, I'm kind of working with Lyme disease right now. It's pretty bad." Oh, and she was so excited. She says, "Oh, I have Lyme disease too." And I said, "Really?" She says, "Yeah. In fact, 10 days ago, I was on my 3rd round of intravenous antibiotics, and well, it's coming back. So the doctor's going to put it back in
Lord.
there." And I'm like, that's not healthy. And I still see her today, and she's still suffering.
Oh, no.
And so that treatment is really, it's not an effective treatment. And if you think it is, then you're going to lose this really great benefit if you do have, you've been chosen by the universe to have Lyme disease,
Right.
to move on,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there's a lot to be said for this. Now, do you have some special homeopathics that you like? Because I know I've talked to you in the past about the German ones that are terrific, but have been banned, some of them, and they can't even get them in this country. So do you have a specific brand or brands that you work with that you think are up to this task?
Yeah, in fact, the dinner lecture that I went to last night in Boston, Des Bio, that's the company, Des Bio. They really specialize in infectious diseases and detoxification, which is why that lecture was really, it's nice to get a little refresher. But I like their products. But for every single person, like, I'll give you an example. Someone comes in, they certainly have Lyme disease, but the Epstein-Barr, that they got when they were young, most people know it as mono, has kind of risen up. So their primary symptomology would be, exhaustion and fatigue. They just, and so at that point, do I treat Lyme disease? Do I treat Epstein-Barr? And
Yeah,
because
which one?
Yeah, because I'm a muscle tester, I get to ask the person's body through muscle testing, where do we start? And where do you start is the great, great question of healing, because there is a sequence of things. If you want to, people come in, they got 20 different symptoms, and I say, well, we're going to work on this. They go, but what about that? What about that? Well, if I throw 10 balls at you, well, you may catch one, but you'll probably drop them all. And the same thing, if you ask your immune system, like, listen, I want to take care of Epstein-Barr, I want to take care of Bartonella, I want to take care of Borrelia, and you try and do it all at once, well, the immune system doesn't know what to do. And it gets confused, and you're not going to get the same result. So you really need to be specific, and the whole spectrum of infections can be present, because we are, our body, that's our environment. If you go to Mexico, you can't eat the food. They can eat the food. You can't eat the food. They're used to it.
Right.
So part of the process is you getting used to what it is, this infection that's in your body, and you will get used to it, and you can get used to it. And so how you start to do that is just kind of tricky business. But as a muscle tester, I kind of create that sequence. It's like, we're going to go after this, we're going to go after that. And then it's a process of unraveling and then making sure that as you unravel, the toxins that are being created by, viruses and bacteria dying, and your immune system basically trying to get resources from your body. All those things need to be cleaned up. They need to be addressed. And every single person is different. I'm sure I could be some kind of famous doctor if I had 3 jars of something. I said, here, take these 3 things. Get back to me in a month. You'll be fine. Yeah, I mean, it's not happening, and it won't happen. So that's kind of the process of how do I choose? And then another mistake based on in relationship to that, people bring in boxes of stuff. I tell them to. I say, bring in all your supplements, and they're taking 20, 30 things at a time. Well, I've never read about a supplement I didn't want to take. They're all great. And I make the same mistake. Believe me, once this starts piling up on my counter at home, my wife says, you gotta straighten this out. And then she'll be a surrogate muscle tester, and I go through everything, and lo and behold, it's like 5 things. I had 20 on the table. Only 5 of them are useful for me at that time, so I put the other ones aside. So that is a process. It's kind of a complicated process.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And you have to, I think, as a patient, you have to take your own responsibility here. You've got to do your 100% with the practitioner, because years ago, we used to think of MDs were minor deities. MD, that's what it stood for. And we just worshiped these people. They were going to heal us and wave their magic wand of pharmaceuticals, and we were going to be all better. And now in this society, we are sicker than ever before. We're taking more medication than ever before. It doesn't work. That's a bad relationship. We need to own up to our diet.
Right.
We need to own up to taking these supplements, doing the proper kind of exercise if we can, if we're well enough to exercise. So you become a partner with your practitioner rather than just give me the next medicine that you think is going to heal me. And you have to participate, right?
Well, they're not gods. That's the difference. We used to think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to jump out of an airplane, the first time. Baby steps. What you can do is what you can do. And I'm one of those practitioners that if you come back to me and say, listen, I know you told me not to eat potato chips, but I ate like 10 bags. Okay, you did. I understand that. Perfection is not the goal, but moving forward is the goal. So why'd you eat the potato chips? Sometimes I have to talk to people almost like I'm a therapist. Well, why'd you eat those 10 bags of potato chips? And then, we talk about it. It's like, okay, I think I can maybe, have 1 bag of potato chips and eat some celery. And, we negotiate. Doctors very often have a complex. They think they are God. They think they know everything. And, it's understandable. If you can save somebody's life, and they do. They save people's life. My life's been saved. I have gratitude for that. And I have appreciation for that. But, they used a hammer to save my life. But, maybe next time I need a saw or a chisel, and they don't have one, so they're going to hit me with a hammer. It's not going to work. But I tell my patients, listen, you're the boss. Mm-hmm. Of me. I'm a consultant. I give you my best advice. You do the best you can do. And if you come back and say, okay, I did this and that, what else do I do? I say, okay, let's try this. And we keep going. Mm-hmm. Your doctor should have the same relationship with you. You're your doctor's boss. You're paying him. You hired him. Let me tell you, if we went to a cash system, like you pay your doctor, like people pay me. It's I take very little insurance. If you paid your doctor, they would go broke. They would go out of business, because if you walked in there, and you might not understand this, but every time you see your doctor, it's $300.
Easy. Yeah.
Easy.
Easy.
I mean, that's just a basic, 12-minute thing.
Yeah.
If you went in there for 12 minutes and paid them $300 and they said, I don't know, we'll run this test, or just hang in there, or just keep taking that drug. I know it's bothering you, but just keep taking it. You'll get used to it. You wouldn't go back.
No.
And so there's this relationship you need to create that's real. Like, hey, you work for me. This is what I want to do. I don't want to take that drug. What else can I do?
Right.
What can you do for me? And I think that there'll be that would be even though you're using insurance, you could still have that relationship. My doctors are wonderful people. I love them. I go in, I say, listen, doc, I think I got Lyme disease. Yeah, well, I'll run a test. I know it's not accurate. Let's run it anyways. Let's run a bunch of tests. I know your patients. Some of them come to me, and you've treated them. Treat yourself. I'll monitor you. I will run a test that you need. I'll take care of you. And I go back and I get better. He says, oh, you're doing great. That's wonderful. All your tests look better. This looks good. That's the kind of relationship that you should have with a doctor. So I encourage people to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely great advice. So let's move on to autoimmune disease, because that you've mentioned before. You said it's like having a bad relationship where the immune system isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. So how, again, do you address that? Is it the same protocol? Is it different than Lyme disease?
Ultimately, it's the same. I mean, Lyme disease will create an autoimmune disease or trigger will trigger an some nascent autoimmune disease that you may have in your genetic code. It can kick it off. But according to epigenetics, you could undo that as well. Just because you've triggered it doesn't mean you can't untrigger it. There is a line of, there's a point of no return, and it's not for me to say where that line is, but I know after, treating, a multitude of people with MS, that the people who come to me in the beginning when they're just starting to have symptoms and, this tingling and that tingling, or, whatever the symptom is, they've been diagnosed, there's a lesion present. Those people I can work really well with because it's at the beginning. We're very close.
Right.
Once you're, in a wheelchair or, worse, it becomes more difficult. I never give up hope, no matter what. There's always a miracle around the corner. There's always something that can be done. But it does become difficult. And it's just make it simple. If you're gaining weight, it's a whole lot easier to lose 10 pounds than 100 pounds.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing. Can you lose 100 pounds? Absolutely, you can do it. But, kind of go get there sooner. And if people get to an alternative practitioner, a natural healer, sooner, they're going to get the best result. Don't wait. It's always sad when, my doctor says I have a week left to live. What can you do for me? Go home. Spend time with your family. It's hard. So my encouragement is, little symptom, just keep it that way. Keep it that way. But autoimmune disorders, as treated in Western medicine, is they just say, hey, you got a bad immune system. It's attacking your own, whatever it is, whether you have, Crohn's or RA or scleroderma, whatever it is, it's attacking your system, some system within you, because it became so confused. It just started attacking you instead of what it was supposed to do. And, that comes from leaky gut. That comes from toxicity. That comes from, nutritional deprivation. We live in a country where, you could get anything you want, but we still have nutritional deprivation because if you take a food that's broken, white bread, white flour, processed things with chemicals, that will break you.
Interesting.
You become nutritionally deficient because even though there's availability, you're not taking advantage of. You're actually taking out of the bank more than you're putting in the bank. And
that is so true.
Wow.
Yes.
That's what a valid point.
Yeah.
You don't pay attention.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about mono. My one son had mono when he was in high school, and to the point that they hospitalized him for about 3 or 4 days. And because of that, is he more susceptible to something like this taking place in his system down the road?
No, it would be the opposite. If he did get Lyme disease, it could activate the mono.
Okay.
It could, the immune system
Because you don't.
can only do so many things, right?
Right.
And so then the mono rises up.
Mhm.
It tends to be, um, easier to then put it back in its place because your
Okay.
immune system did it once, and now all it needs is the resources and the wherewithal to do that again. And then you move on to the next infection. You move on to detoxification. And so back to all autoimmune diseases, there is a toxicity issue. The brain needs to communicate through the nervous system, to the cells, to the matrix. Right. And when there's toxicity, that's not happening. For instance, with women and their menstrual cycle, this is a real important hormonal, exchange. Your body is one person this part of the month and another person this part of the month. Well, if you have things that block those hormone receptor sites, that transition becomes hard. The message isn't getting there. And so that's the cause of this imbalance of, going through those cycles that for many women are very easy. It's a process. They just go through it. And for many women, they suffer. That's an issue of toxicity. And the same thing, with autoimmune disorders, you're getting poor signaling, poor messaging, because not only does the brain need to tell, the cells, whether they're immune cells or inside your cell, it should be detoxifying or making energy, whatever. But the cell needs to communicate to the brain, hey, I need this. I need this thing. I need this nutrient, this mineral, so that I can accomplish this. And so the brain doesn't hear it, or the brain says, oh, that thing that you do in school where you whisper to someone, know something at the end, it's something else. Well, this is what's happening when you become, where there's toxins involved, which, believe me, we are exposed. I mean, if you're driving in a car, well, forget if it's a new car, there's toxins. But the car in front of you is spewing thousands of toxins out of the tailpipe. That's going right into your car. There's, even if you have the little filter in there, that's just that's a particle filter. Those toxins are molecular and they come in and we're breathing them all the time. So we're getting mixed signals. Your cell's going, help me, I need this. And your brain's going, oh, you send something else down there. And so now you got this missignaling, and an autoimmune disorder is a missignaling. So detoxification, you always want to start detoxification. Take the pressure off of the person's body, whatever it is, poor food, poor sleep, overactivity, underactivity. So you got to start working those things out. And then sooner or later, the body starts to create correct signals. And those correct signals then start to heal the person. And that's how you undo that. Even genetically, you're telling your genes, oh, listen, that's an okay gene, but I'd rather you not express yourself. Too much. Go away. And so that it's just that process of healing that needs to take place.
And it's I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask because I know you deal with scleroderma, and I was wondering, what is the prevalence of the Lyme disease infection with someone that has scleroderma?
Well, I am not a scleroderma specialist, although some people wish I were. And, because when you're talking about scleroderma, you're talking about like one out of, I think it's 250,000, people. And so it's a very interesting thing is every week a disease comes into my office that I never heard of. It's just amazing. 32 years. And somebody says, oh, I have this. And I go, well, let me look that up. And okay, I see it. I'm looking for categories. Where is that happening? And even within scleroderma, you have all different kinds of forms of scleroderma. Where's it going? Is it systemic? Is it a local? Where's it going? But ultimately, I never look at it in a particle form, like, oh, you have this thing. It's like, what do I need to do to make you healthy? That's the goal. And are there important, Patricia, you mentioned the Sanum remedies from Germany.
Right.
Super effective in turning around autoimmune disorders, making the correction,
Right.
not the end all and be all, but a really significant thing.
Yes.
A cake has many ingredients. You leave one out, it's not such a good cake,
Right.
but if you build, you put the ingredients in right, and a great chef will use the same ingredients. My wife watches those shows. I love them too. Okay.
They're
where
great.
they get these terrible ingredients like, hey, are you going to make dinner? And like, oh my God, gummy bears in a, in a balloon.
Right.
So when you put a prescription together, it's like, you want to, with experience, with, you can do a better thing like that. So I still look at every autoimmune disease. I used to have rheumatoid arthritis, and unfortunately I fixed that. That was great. It was certainly by mistake, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
I told Patricia
Yeah.
I took a product and I took way too much of it because it had expired. In this particular product, these are from Germany, they didn't expire, but I ate a whole box of them, and the next day my knee blew up, and I used to be able to tell people when the weather was going to change, because I couldn't walk the day before. And I took this stuff, and the day after I did it, I stayed up kind of late. I woke up, my knee was blown up, and it was pretty rough. And of course, understanding the principles of homeopathy and reversing a disorder, you're going back through. According to naturopathic understanding, you heal from top to bottom, from inside to out, and in reverse order. So in this case, it was like in reverse order. I had it, and now I really have it, but it's coming out. And I called my teacher and I said, oh my God, I think I'm going to die. What did I do? And he, I hear this blank, this statement, like nothing on the phone. And I'm like, are you still there? He goes, yeah. He said, I'm pretty sure you were at the whole seminar. He said, what part do you think you missed? I said, I didn't miss anything. He goes, well, tell me what you should do. And then of course it hit me. I said, keep going. Let the process go. So I said, I should take more. He says, take more.
Amazing.
So
Well, hold that thought. We're going to get back to this for our last half hour together. This is such an exciting discussion, and I know people are going to benefit so much from hearing from you, Robert. We're so glad you're with us today. So stay tuned, everybody. We are going to take another short break, and we'll be right back. You are listening to Supernatural Girls Radio. Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK. Be sure to visit our Facebook page, Supernatural Girls with a Z, and also The Real Zombie Plague.
Right.
Both of them on Facebook. Make sure you pay us a visit. Follow us. Like us. We really appreciate your support. And we are supporting you today with a great guest, Robert Abatiello. He can be found at clearpointacupuncture.com. He also is available for phone consults because I know a lot of our audience is all around the world, and you can find Robert again there, clearpointacupuncture.com. So, Robert, we're talking about autoimmune, and scleroderma is something that you and I have talked about a lot, and because I have it. And one of the last questions that PK just asked you is about the prevalence of Lyme disease infections in scleroderma. And as you said, it's a rare disease, scleroderma is, so it's hard to judge and gauge. But certainly something that you told me really stuck, which is if you don't heal the Lyme, you can't heal anything else.
And that goes back to the fact that I consider Lyme a gift. If you're blessed with that. Thanks a lot. But, at the point where this is the thing you're working with, it's really about going through all the phases of your life and healing yourself. And again, you stop anywhere along the line. I tell people, healing is like getting to the top floor. Getting to the penthouse. You can stop on the first floor and the second floor, and people do. They go, this is enough. But really, the ultimate thing is you want to go all the way. So I'll have a patient, that has gone all the way, that's really taken it to heart, has gone through the therapy, has made sure they've keeping themselves healthy. They come see me every month or two, whatever. They check in. They make sure they're getting their supplements and they're getting the right ones. And, those people, they get bit again. They were out in the woods, they get bit. And they, the first time it happens, their eyes are wide. They're like, oh my God, I don't want to get Lyme again. It's not, those people, here, take this, not a problem. I mean, I got bit, I don't know, 2 months ago or something like that. I got bit. Clearly, it was like a bad bite. So immediately I did the same thing. I took this, I took that, and I'm saying this or that because everybody's different. But I took, I took Lyme Plus was the product. I took some Monolaurin, and I think I took some Cellular Forte Max. And I took a lot more than probably I would prescribe because I don't have that opportunity. I don't want to be, I can't get a cold as far as I'm concerned. I need to be here every day. So I just took a bunch of it, 3 days, done. That was 2 months ago.
Wow.
No problem. So that's the promise at the end, that you're just like a normal person. You can get bit. You do something for a day or two or a week, and you're done. You're never going to go back. So when
That's really terrific.
When you come to me and you're that sick, you're never going to get that sick again. But you really got to get to the penthouse of health. You can't stop. Can't stop on the second floor.
No shortcuts.
No.
Yeah, there are no shortcuts. But that's a great thing to understand because people are so afraid, And after a couple of times, they get bit. They call me up. I say, you still got that stuff in your shelf? Yeah, okay, take it. Call me up in a week if there's a problem. And, I might hear them from a week saying, hey, everything's great, everything's fine. I may not hear back from them until they come to see me a year, a month later, whatever. And they go, yeah, thanks, that was great. Not a problem, not a problem.
Way to go.
Whereas if you called your doctor and said the same thing, oh, well, you could take a prophylactic dose of antibiotics. I'm not really sure how that's working. I think that's just that's a palliative thing to just say, okay, shut up, take this, and leave me alone.
What else can they do? Yeah.
Yeah, right. And if you take a course of antibiotics, what you've done is you're going back to where you shouldn't go. You're starting to create a resistant strain of Borrelia. And that's
you're also
not
creating problems with your gut.
Yeah, everything. Oh, here's an interesting thing that's super important, because one of the things you need, and one of the things in that process, the repair and restore, and actually the first phase, where you're working with the infection itself and educating the immune system, you need the energy to do it. Well, guess what? These little mitochondria, which is in every cell of your body, it's that little thing that creates energy, your little ATP generator.
Little battery. Yeah.
Yeah, it's your little battery in every cell. That is an ancient bacteria.
No kidding.
We formed a symbiotic relationship with this as we evolved.
Wow.
And so when you take an antibiotic, you're affecting that mitochondria. And we can, when you're young, you have a lot of juice. Little kids, they run around, blah, 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 and then you get around 25 and you're like, blah, 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 blah. And, that mitochondria is starting to mellow out. Let's be nice.
Right.
It's mellowing out. What they found, if you go to a nursing home, somebody's acting up, they're having a bad day. There are a lot of reasons why, people are not cooperating.
You're Paul. I'm the new Sprintern.
Sprint Plus.
Intern. Yeah, clever, right? Looking at getting an amazing iPhone 8?
Yeah, because
Now you can lease one iPhone 8, get the other one on Sprint to give your second phone to your new friend.
And you get the best price for unlimited.
And now lease one iPhone 8 and get a second one on us. Visit your local Sprint store, sprint.com/iPhone, or call 1-800-SPRINT1 today.
iPhone 8, 64 gigabyte, $29.17 a month. Second iPhone 8 after $29.17 a month. Credit applied within 2 bills. Requires 2 new lines or 1 new and 1 upgrade with 18-month leases. Early termination results in full balance due. Excludes tax subject to credit and third-day activation restrictions apply.
Rating,
right.
as such. Well, you could send them out for a psych evaluation, or you can go, oh, I think this person might have a cold or a little cough or something. Give them an antibiotic. It's much easier to prescribe an antibiotic really quick, really fast. You give someone in their 70s, 80s, or 90s an antibiotic, they will go to sleep on you in a second. It's like a sedative.
It's like a sedative.
It's because that mitochondria, the little bit of energy that they're pumping out, becomes just not even enough to stay awake.
Oh
So
my
we
God.
know that the damage of antibiotics is not just, everybody says, oh, I took a probiotic. Well, that's really nice. And of course, the gastroenterologist they made that concession, right? Because
Right, did.
I can't remember what's her name, but she did the little yogurt commercial.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So she said, oh, guess what? If you take this little thing of yogurt,
Oh yeah, the Align, whatever.
Yeah.
your gut will be
On
great.
the line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she got in trouble for that.
She got in trouble. They pulled the ad,
Hmm.
but guess what? It's the absolute truth. Your gut is 60-70% of your immune system. And so it was true. And that's those commercials, they came back and said, oh, it's just good. It's healthy for you. And they didn't say why anymore. They just said, oh, it tastes good. It's good for you. But then they came back and they started using that little diagram that has a little bacteria running around, through your gut. And so then
Makes you feel good.
yeah. So, and they, so because it's a scientific fact, if I know it, and I've known it for 20 years, that even the worst doctor on the planet has to know it by now.
Oh yes.
It's on the TV. So now you go to your gastroenterologist and you go, oh, I have gut problems and I took an antibiotic and I have, gut problems. And they go, oh, well, take a probiotic. That was a couple years ago. Now they're going, well, take a probiotic while you're taking an antibiotic.
Mm-hmm.
It's useful. It's more important afterwards to restore the gut.
Right.
And if you don't have a appendix, which is where your body stores its nascent probiotics. So you get sick, whatever goes through you, and then your nascent probiotic comes out. So if you don't have an appendix, that's a little rough, and you really do need to take care of finding the right probiotic for you. But not every probiotic is the right one for you.
Well, that's a very good point. And I know you and I have had this discussion before, because with scleroderma patients, they found that there's too much acidophilus and too much, I believe, of another gut bacteria. And people who continue to feed that, and acidophilus, that's the one they tout the most in many different probiotic products, whether it's in yogurt or whether it's in a pill. So scleroderma patients have to be very knowledgeable about their own gut biome and what they're trying to do to balance it out. So it becomes a very complicated situation. I think that's why a practitioner like you becomes absolutely so valuable. You've got to be able to work with somebody who's very knowledgeable about all the different things that can go on in the gut and how to supplement it properly. But here's a question. We've got a bunch of questions. I want to get to at least some of them because folks wrote in before the show. This one is actually about the gut. I've read so much about autoimmune diseases starting in the gut. I have JRA, Sjogren's syndrome, fibromyalgia, and now lung disease, which is the worst, thanks to the RA. Any thoughts? Also, what do you think of calcium supplements, especially those derived from algae?
Big question. Yeah, the algae went through me, let me tell you. I'm not a real big calcium person. There's a lot of calcium. It's kind of ubiquitous in the diet, unless you're eating a really poor diet. But if you're eating a reasonably good diet, you're getting enough calcium. So I don't really deal with a lot of calcium supplementation. There are times, and there's a certain amount, and there's a certain kind. A lot of these calcium supplements you'll see says calcium carbonate. Well, if you look at your sheetrock on your walls, that's calcium carbonate.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so, it's a lot cheaper.
Nice.
You could buy a 4x8 piece of sheetrock and you have enough calcium carbonate for 10 years. And that's only like $12.
Right.
So
It's the cheap method.
Yeah,
Well, they're saying that actually it's magnesium that's a lot more important than the calcium. But for somebody like this who has so many different issues, I know who this is, and she started out with RA as a child. They put her on tremendous amounts of medication. The medication then created the lung disease and some of the other issues she finds herself facing today.
So we jump back to back in the conversation. Toxicity is causing this problem. To undo that, to unravel all these things, you have to work yourself backwards. But the question about the gut, super important. 2 points. One is the prevalence of acidophilus in scleroderma the acidophilus isn't causing the problem. What's causing the problem is why the acidophilus isn't balanced with something
Right.
else.
Something else. Right.
And so you got to track it that way. So some people say, well, just don't take acidophilus. Well, guess what? You have a little bit of acidophilus in your gut all the time. If you look at the reproduction rate of bacteria, like every however many seconds, it doubles. Within a minute. Now when 50 doubles to 100, 100 doubles, to 200 within, minutes, by the time you're 10 minutes down the road and you're just living a life 24 hours, that bacteria is growing. So it's not about not taking the bacteria. It's about controlling it, finding what is missing in the gut. And as far as what's the cause of autoimmune disorders or immune disorders, is when the gut becomes leaky. There's these little microscopic villi, and there's enzymes around each and every one of those villi. So, you eat a steak and the protein gets, kind of broken down, and now it's in solution, and then it hits on these little microscopic fingers, and the enzymes basically dissolve them into a smaller particle, the building blocks of the protein, and you absorb it. Now, when those fingers get damaged from every kind of, from antibiotics, from different kinds of medications, from poor diet, undereating, overeating, not enough water, etc. The pH is wrong in your stomach because you have anxiety and it's changing the pH. That particle goes in, and there's a layer in your gut that basically processes all the nutrition that comes in. Okay, this is good. This is great. We're going to send it here. We're going to use this for that. But when a particle gets through that's been undigested, your body thinks, oh, that's a virus, or that's a bacteria, or that's a yeast, and it will try and kill it. And so it makes an antigen to that particle. Now, every time you eat a steak, it's basically like you're giving yourself an infection.
Wow.
And so then your body is now looking at this molecule as it floats around the body, and it has antigens to it, so it starts attacking it. Now, here's a very interesting thing. You're going to absorb, some of that particle did get digested and winds up in your cell. And your immune system's now scouring your body for this particle that used to be a cow, but it used to be a steak. And then it sees that little particle, a very similar particle, inside a cell or around a cell, and it attacks it. And now it has an antigen to the cell as well. And so it starts attacking those cells. And there's another mechanism in your body that says, no, don't do that. It's not good. And now the fight begins. And that's the beginning of autoimmunity. And it's the immune system has to be corrupt in some way. It has to have been affected. It has to be, overwhelmed. And it becomes more confused.
Right.
And so we act just like our immune system do. If you get under a lot of stress and you're trying to figure out, which turn do I make? And you're right in the middle of the city and there's cars coming at you and you go, I'm just going to go straight.
Yeah.
Your immune system goes, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to go straight and I'm going to attack that cell because why not?
Because it
can, right?
Because it can, because it's on a mission. It's its purpose. And so in Western medicine, they say, well, yeah, that's happening. So what do you want to do? We want to suppress the immune system. We want to shut it down. And they've been very successful at finding different aspects of the immune system and shutting it down specifically. So you get a really good result, with Crohn's or with RA. But ultimately, now what's going to happen? You're going to have your immune system suppressed. You're going to have these other infections. Let's call it the co-infection of immune diseases, because your immune system's suppressed. They always say, oh, if you have tuberculosis or a cold, don't start taking this. Well, what if you get a cold after you start taking it? It's a problem. And so now this case starts to become more complex because you're getting other infections which are shutting down different parts of your matrix.
Exactly.
And the
That's how this
information is
person
not getting
ended up
back.
with lung disease, So
Yeah.
now it's not only RA, but now we've got lung disease to overblown, the whole situation becomes such a serious one. It's serious to begin with, but then it becomes very life-threatening. So again, it makes sense, again, to get to you or practitioner like you in another city who can really help people to step through this. There is a lot to it. And that's why I'm always in favor of working with somebody. And again, as a partnership so that you can get to the bottom of it. Now, there's another question here about dogs that we discussed the other day, too. People wanted to know, do you treat dogs the same way that you treat people with Lyme and or immune disease? Because dogs are getting Lyme, dogs are getting autoimmune diseases now, too. It's rising exponentially in their population.
Yeah. And I don't treat dogs. It's not within the, my scope of practice. But one thing that we know is that a simple remedy, this is a simple remedy, this is a great thing. Nano silver, which really comes from just one company. They have the patent on it, but it's marketed, through many, many companies. Nano silver is a particle that's antimicrobial. It basically has a charge on it. So the thing I was saying about the mitochondria, it increases the frequency and the charge of your cells. So they become stronger, more efficient at producing energy and removing toxins and utilizing nutrition. But it also will attach itself to a virus or a bacteria and basically cleave off one of the molecules, the electrons off, and basically destroy that cell. And with animals, you can just spray it in the water. I had a person who came to me and they were very upset. Their cat was going to pass away. And they were on antibiotics. Nothing was, just really wasn't working. Busybody me, I said, well, listen, I know you're not here for your dog, but get some smart silver. Just spray it in the bowl, spray it in its mouth, because you can use an antibiotic and smart silver together. In fact, they found with MRSA and resistant strains, Western medicine is now starting to use silver in conjunction because it makes the antibiotic so much more effective, which means also that you can use a lot less, so that toxicity load becomes less. But for your animal, for Lyme disease, whatever you're going to give, you can even use a homeopathic, which works on dogs. It works on, on people too. I mean, what I'm saying. You could put that in its water, drop that in its mouth. So I would say smart silver and the correct homeopathic remedy for an animal would be very, very effective, along with whatever, your vet would recommend. Right. If whether it is an antibiotic or if you're using a natural holistic vet, it was a very great combination.
It sounds wonderful. Yeah.
Excuse me. Is colloidal silver the same as smart silver?
No, colloidal silver is different. Now, colloidal silver is a colloidal particle of silver that's suspended in water. Okay. So if you let it sit there, it'll drop down. And in your body, it doesn't have the same charge, whereas the nano silver is actually electronically attached to a water molecule. So it floats around until that water molecule gets out. And that's why with nano silver, you'll see like 10 parts per million, whereas colloidal silver, you'll see way upwards of that 50 parts per million or even more, because you have to use a lot more of it to get the same effect.
Wow.
So this is just fascinating, because the nano silver, that's nice to know, because I know so many people that are using the colloidal silver when they have different things pop up. So they're really defeating some of it themselves because it's not strong enough.
Yeah, I have some I always keep some on my desk right here, because whenever I'm working with somebody, I always spray my hands like this, keep a good thing. You spray it in your mouth. And interesting enough, pink eye or irritation in your eye, eyes open, right in your eyes, doesn't sting at all. That sounds like an infomercial, but I really love this product.
I'll tell you what, I always have a scratch to one eye. I can't get rid of it. I'm going to get some today.
It's
Yeah.
really, and it's so soothing for your eyes as well. So
Ah,
I like that product. And
this is
so
great.
to the person that asked that question, you can find this online. You could call me up. I sell it.
Can you hold the bottle up so we can
yeah.
see it?
Yeah. Let's see. How is
There you go. Smart Silver.
Smart Silver? Yeah.
And you sell it.
Thank
So
you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. I try and get everyone to go home with it because I know if they get a cut,
Yeah.
if they get a scratch,
Mhm.
if they're getting a cold, if you
Right.
get food poisoning, you start spraying it. I send people overseas when they're going out of the country. It's like, you better have this, on
Yeah.
the plane,
Right.
before you get in the plane, when you get off the plane. It's a great product.
Perfect.
wonderful to know.
Well, Robert, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. This has been incredible. I so much to think about. Again, PK, did you learn a lot today or what?
I certainly did. The worst
Good.
part
That's
is I
good.
learned how much I didn't know.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, this has been great. Now, again, thank you everybody for listening to our very special presentation. You can find Robert Abatiello at www.clearpointacupuncture.com. His practice is in Florence, Massachusetts, but he is also available for phone consults. You can find him there, clearpointacupuncture.com. Now, next week, we are going to have what's his name? Nick Redfern is coming back.
You scared me for a
Remember
minute because I thought, wait a minute.
Yeah, who's Ned? It's Nick Redfern. He's
Okay.
coming back. He's talking about Mothman, cryptids, all the crazy, lovely stuff that we love to talk about. All the latest. The Mothman sightings are going nuts in Chicago. We got to hear about it from Nick. So Nick had to be rescheduled because he got horribly sick, but he's all better now, and he's going to join us next week. So until then, everybody, have a great week, a great Thanksgiving. Eat a lot of whatever's special for you, turkey or your vegan meal. And we will see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everybody.
Good night.